Jesus.
Good evening, everyone. Happy holidays. This is the City of Dania Beach CRA meeting on December the 10th. It is 5:32, and I call this meeting to order. City Clerk, if you would please call the roll.
Chair Davis.
Here.
Vice Chair Salvino.
I'm here.
Board Member Llewellyn.
Here.
Board Member Romoli.
Here.
Don't push the button.
Here.
Don't
Board
push
Member
the button.
Ryan.
Don't push the button. Here. Here.
City Attorney Boutzis.
Here.
CRA Executive Director Chen.
Here.
Chair, you have a quorum.
Leave them all on.
All right. Thank you, City Clerk. Next, we have the citizens' comments. Do we have anyone here to speak for citizens' comments? No one? Okay, seeing none, then we will move on to the administrative reports. All right, Director Chen, would you please give us our administrative report?
Thank you, Chair Davis. Let me start by apologizing for missing our November meeting, and I particularly regret missing your swearing in. I was looking forward to it. I actually came down with COVID as an excuse, so I apologize. As for your administrative report, our Dania Beach Business Academy has been cranking. We've had 2 courses online since we've last discussed them. And in fact, just to bring you some numbers with this, for the last 2 courses, one of them was revenue generation and the other was first-time homebuyer program, each with 4 classes in each series. Under those 8 classes, we had over 900 people that participated in those programs. SCORE has also provided another statistical tracking that they're doing, and they have identified during the year 2024 up to September, there's been over 300 people from Dania Beach who has attended CORE programs. That is compared to only 80 people through the entire year last year. And I'd like to think at least some of this is because our advertising and promoting the Dania Beach Business Academy is connecting our businesses to the resources that are available in SCORE, and people are starting to take advantage of them. I mentioned to you in our last meeting about our new business manager who's coming on. I'd like to introduce you to Crystal Permanent, who is now here with us. And of course, she's joining with our older, I guess, longer-term admin and not older. Our longer-term executive assistant, Denise. We're starting to really flesh out the staffing with the CRA. And both of them will be around to meet you face-to-face after the meeting. Crystal's background, a couple of things I do want to mention to you. She is a graduate of the prestigious Oklahoma University Economic Development Institute, which is one of the most recognized economic development programs in the country. And her most previous work was with the Fort Lauderdale Executive Airport, where she administrated the Foreign Trade Zone for all of Broward County. That's Foreign Trade Zone 241 for all of Broward County. And she also was responsible for the leasing of the Executive Airport's properties and buildings, where she had a 1,000-acre campus to manage, as well as a 200-acre industrial park and 2 million square feet of office and warehouse space. That was all under her administration in the FXE. I want to update you on Spirit Airlines. Since we last met, we have received letters from the Florida Department of Commerce For their 2023 achievements, they met their criteria of their contract. We have paid out $11,200, which is our 10% matching share of that incentive to them. Just to give you some specifics about them, for capital investment, they were originally scheduled to have produced or to have invested $175 million over 3 years. The last I heard, they actually invested closer to $250 million for their headquarters operation. In terms of their hires, they were responsible to hire 225 new hires over 5 years with an average salary of $78,000. As an update, to date, in their first year of achievement in their contract, they actually they were scheduled to create 75 new jobs. They actually created 214 new jobs. And instead of the $78,000 minimum wage requirement, their average wages were $109,000 for those jobs. All right. And just to let you know, we promptly made the CRA's payment on its local match of that $11,200 toward that incentive. I have been advising you that we've been doing an update on the CRA website. I'm proud to say, oh, I'm sorry, yes.
Board Member Llewellyn? Yes, I did put you on.
Thank you. I actually had questions on two things that you've talked about so far. First of all, on the SCORE programs, I know you said that they're calculating how many people are actually coming from Dania Beach. Is there anything that they're able to calculate as far as any of those individuals interested in either bringing a business to Dania Beach or any incentives that might help to bring them here and start a business here?
No, they actually did the tracking based on the address of the registrations to their program. That's how they know that it was Dania Beach. It's people currently in Dania Beach that they tracked for that.
Okay, but that's something that I think we need to do in the future. It might be something for the economic development person to work on, is working on incentives for that to get people to actually stay here and actually start businesses here, as opposed to just going to the classes. That's been something that we've talked about for a long time, and I'd really like to see that. It would make.
I agree with you, and in fact, just to let you know, I spoke with Sandy McDonald, who is the director of the Broward County Office of Economic Small Business Development. In 2024, he's expecting to receive some funding that will actually go toward economic development initiatives for 2020. Excuse me, that's in 2025. For 2024, he had no funding for that. The county allocated all of its spare funding toward low-income housing. But he's getting some money, and I'm already started to discuss some programs we could do with him where he could maybe do some matching funds to us to share in incentives.
And my other question has to do with Spirit, and I think you may know what it is.
Yes.
So this is all great, but that's obviously before they file for bankruptcy.
Yes.
And obviously the bankruptcy is going to impact a number of things. And have you had any discussions with anybody about that?
I actually have. I've talked with the Department of Commerce about their contract and our obligations under it. And in fact, I'm so pleased you asked that question. I'd hope someone would raise it, considering the headlines that Spirit's been attracting recently. Our agreement with Spirit Airlines and the Florida Department of Commerce is specifically their offices and location at Dania Point. Not that I wish them badly, but basically whatever happens to them as their global operations, our agreement and our obligations only are attached to Dania Point. Okay, so they have to meet that requirement, maintain that headquarters operation and those jobs. In fact, it's not just that they're going to create 215 new jobs here, but they were also had to bring like 880 existing jobs to that. So there's over 1,000 employees in Dania Beach as a result of that operation. Our incentive is only valid if they maintain that level of operation in Dania Beach.
So if they go out of business, for example?
If they go out of business, if I may put on my economist hat, what makes a lot of sense to me out of this is that, particularly with the outcome of the election, I think that Spirit Airlines is setting themselves up for the reopen conversations of another merger.
There's no guarantees with that. So,
Yes.
so my concern is this. I deal with bankruptcy in some of the things that I do for a living, and we actually have a client that just also filed Chapter 11, and we were dealing with that. And what tends to happen is, although there might be certain debts that, there's a whole process you have to go through in order to collect the money that you're owed.
Yes.
So if they're owing us something, or we're owing them something, I'm just wondering if there is something that needs to be done on our end to try to make sure that that gets handled appropriately.
Okay,
legally,
well,
like
in fact,
legally.
let me provide a little bit more detail about how the incentive is done between us and Spirit Airlines. They actually have to earn the funding before they can apply for it. So any contribution we make against our incentives are retroactive to their achievement. Basically, we have, I think that our obligation, we're participating in a share of about $6,000 per new job that's created. When they earn the first achievement for that employment, they only get paid 25% of the incentive. So whatever they earn, it's paid over 4 years. Last year, we paid the first 25% of what they achieved in 2022. Then we paid 25% of what they achieved in 2023. But if for some reason they close, then we will not complete what they had earned previously, because unless those jobs last at least 4 years, they don't get paid the full incentive. So we will reduce our obligation if in fact they are unable to complete and maintain those jobs here in Dania Beach. I don't know, is that what you were asking?
Yeah, well, yes and no. I don't know, and maybe Eve can answer. I don't know. If there's something legally that we may have to do, whether it's file a proof of claim, or if there's something like that we would end up needing to do on our end of it.
We don't have to do anything if they fail to meet the requirements of their contract. The Florida Department of Commerce will advise them that they did not comply with their contract, and we're off the hook. It's done.
If we're looking for any kind of reimbursement, which I think is part of what your question
Yeah.
would be, I'll look at the contract and I'll look at the bankruptcy
Actually,
laws and
there's
get
no
back to you.
reimbursement, because what they earned last year is paid, and they deserve the payment, which is 25% of what they actually earned last year. That's not reimbursable. I've had that in another situation.
I will review it, because you're talking about they had to keep it for 4 years. So if they didn't keep it for 4 years, then there could be a reimbursement. And that's exactly what you've been saying for the past 5 minutes. So we'll review it
Yeah.
afterwards.
So we need to look at it. I don't think it hurts to have Eve take a look at the contract and see what might be involved, and revisit that.
I'll work with that, but I've been in experience with a situation where that occurred, and they earn what they earned in the past. They don't earn anything through the future if they no longer meet the requirement.
Right, but every contract's different, so,
Thank you, Chair. Thank
Okay.
you,
thank you.
Director. And I think we have a question
ahead.
from Vice Chair.
Thank you. Just to piggyback a little bit on what Lori's got going on, I realize that you're not paying them unless they accomplished all the program that's out there.
Yes.
I just know that that Spirit is going to lay off another 500 or so people in February. They're going to offer them what they call a sabbatical leave. Was it a leave where they will give them benefits, but and the ones that don't get it will either be laid off and put on unemployment, or or whatever, because they're going to cut out over 200 pilots on top of that. That is, I've seen that in writing where they're doing that. So it's nothing that we can do about what Spirit's doing in that. I'm just wanting you to understand that we need to be careful of what we're doing there, because we've got Dania Point has got a big piece of property there with Spirit all over it. If they should fail, we're going to have a bunch of empty buildings over there. We're going to have a lot of unemployed people that come in from that. So hopefully, like you say, maybe things will change in next year with the under a new administration. Who knows if the government will help them out like they have bailed out other airlines before. But my point is just to be careful, because I do know there's more layoffs coming, if not completely shut down.
Yes, I've been tracking that pretty closely as well. I try to keep on top of what's happening with them.
So we'll keep a close eye on that. Next, we have Chair Ryan.
Thank you, Chair.
Sorry.
Just to be clear, since we're discussing this, what our total commitment from the city for this program over 4 years is what, $80-some thousand?
No, actually, if they fully comply with their entire contract, our total obligation is $135,000.
135, and how much have we paid so far? In the first, 2 years, right?
It's been about $17,000.
$17,000?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. I just want to put the numbers out there.
Thank you, Board Member. Thank you, Director. I think we're ready to move on with the administrative report.
Okay, thank you. The rest of my administrative report is really information about the patch. The patch has completed all 64 of the new raised beds, and in fact, they're now in planting season. Many of those beds are now planted, and in fact, some of them are already starting to produce full mature crops. I think the big news about the patch is that there's been so much activity. There's been a lot of social things going on between the Fruitful Field, doing sponsored programs and so forth, like Veterans Day celebration and so forth. And then we also have a lot of programming with Love Our Nation. And in fact, in addition to including the different flyers and so forth about the program in your binders so you can see what we're advertising about the patch, I have included the calendar, the November 2024 calendar from Love Our Nation. It is near the end of all those photographs in the binder under the admin report. And it is color-coded, and I asked them to do this specifically for you because this shows you that Love Our Nation is having programming every day at the patch where there is a school day. So all the green activities that are on this calendar are color-coded because they're happening at the patch. Okay, so to let you know about that. And then I've included some photographs of you. The first page of photographs is Love Our Nation activities. The second page is actually showing you some of the crops that are now being planted in those raised beds. The last group of photos is showing you some of the volunteers that have occurred in there. In fact, in the last 2 months, excuse me, October and November, the patch had over 200 volunteers just in those 2 months alone. So we're really getting more and more attention and outreach to the public with that. I also wanted to draw your attention at the dais, there is a magazine in which there's an article where the patch was featured. The Fruitful Fields farm manager was interviewed by the magazine, and he talked about their experience, the Fruitful Fields and their management at the patch. So the article is actually bookmarked with a Post-it note, so you can see. This is considered the trade journal, lead trade journal for farming in South Florida. And with that, that concludes my admin report.
Thank you, Director Chen. At this time, we will move on to the consent. Well, we have no presentation, so we will move on to the consent agenda. Are there any items that the board wishes to pull from the consent agenda? Board Member Llewellyn?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I have a motion from Board Member Llewellyn and a second from Vice Chair Salvino. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Okay, the consent agenda passes. Now we move on to the proposals and bids. We have no proposals or bids this evening, and so we are now on to item 7.1, discussion and possible action for the facade grant application for 24 Northeast First Avenue. Director Chen?
Yes. This building is just to the north side of the Celeste on East First Avenue. The building owner's objective is to spruce up the building and get a mix of tenants that will support the new residents that are occurring in the corridor. I'd like to point out, I guess for the first 2.5 years I was here, we had no facade grant applications. I think during 2024 alone, I think this is our 5th facade grant application this year. So we are finally getting some reach and takers on our grant program. So with that, they have met all the criteria. They've provided the 2 contractor bids on the work that they're going to do. Specifically, they're doing a more extensive improvement. They only have talked with us basically regarding the cost of replacing windows and doors. But they're also doing awnings, they're going to do painting and so forth. That is not covered by our facade grant. So basically, we're requesting your approval to do this facade grant up to $25,000 or 50% of the actual cost as verified by paid receipts.
Thank you, Director Chen. I think we have some comment from Board Member Romoli.
Just a question, Michael and Director Chen. Do we have an active outreach program right now to reach businesses to take advantage of the facade programs?
We're putting this out on our social media platforms. We're also putting it in, occasionally we're doing publications in the Dania Beach Press. And this is one of the things that is going to be the front and center for the business manager as she calls on businesses to let them know we have programs to help support them.
Are we going door to door, to
We
get face to face
haven't
with people and saying, don't miss out on this opportunity?
Yeah, we haven't exactly gone door to door in the past year or so. We've been a little bit short-handed for that. But again, this is one of the reasons I've been so anxious to fill that slot with a business manager.
And I would just
with that,
suggest
we have been more successful in reaching out with the message.
Yeah, I would suggest trying to put that in plan when you do get up to staff.
Absolutely.
To get out there, meet our businesses. I can tell you from by an example of my business when I was on Federal Highway, in the entire time that I was there, this is prior to you, by the way, no one ever visited my office. And I think it's really important that we reach out to our businesses and let them know the resources that we have available for them and do what we can to help them and help our city improve
Yes.
the look of our city.
Absolutely. This is an important piece. You can have all the programming you want. If you haven't got an effective outreach to let people know about it, it doesn't work. So we're working at trying to make sure this happens. And I appreciate your observation.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion to approve this item? Board Member Llewellyn,
Motion to approve.
do I have a second? Second from Board Member Romoli. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. All right, item 7.1 passes. Moving on to item 7.2, potential disposition of the CRA-owned land parcel 137 Northwest First Avenue. Director Chen.
Okay. I'll start this summary with an apology because there's not a lot of detail to the proposal. It is one of the natures of an unsolicited proposal for a piece of CRA land. By state statutes, as the CRA board, you cannot vote to disperse of CRA land, whether it's by rent or by sale, until we've done an advertised published notice. When we do that here, our practice is we also run a proactive RFP so that we have a more aggressive reach to try to seek any interested parties for the land. So basically this, we received a letter from Love Our Nation. They want the CRA to assist with supporting with land so they can build a children's center for the neighborhood for their programs. Their programs have been very active in the patch, as I've told you, and as a part of our calendar summary that we just discussed. But the open air of the patch is not conducive to all their programs. So they're looking to do something that is actually a structure. I can tell you they have not put together a proposal at this point. They have engaged an architect that will assist them if you positively respond to this approved for the published notice. That will cost them approximately $6,000 to $8,000 to actually prepare a response to an RFP if it's driven. But all I can tell you is they have an interest in seeing if the CRA would be willing to, in some way, work with them to assist them with the land for a children's center. All we're looking for at this point is for your approval to do a published notice. I can tell you if we do that, when we get the responses back, you can reject anything you get or everything you get. The approval to publish notice doesn't obligate you to any decision, whatever it might be, whatever the discussion might be in the future.
So for clarification, it's just the interest from Love Our Nation that is going to spark the RFP that anyone would be able to respond to.
Yes.
And then we will look at all of the proposals and decide yay or nay. But this is just in order to have it published, to put it out there.
It is.
Initially.
It's complying with state statutes as required for CRA-owned land.
Thank you. I think we have a comment or question from Vice Chair.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Michael, I'm looking at the map on that. It looks like it's in a residential neighborhood, square in the middle of a residential neighborhood.
It is. It's on 4th Avenue, just about a block and a half north of us. It's a piece of land that faces the railroad track. And by coincidence, I think it's the only piece of CRA-owned land that is zoned city center, which means it is already zoned for a mix of uses, including some commercial uses.
Okay. I think my question on this, if they want to spend the money, I don't have a problem with that, but I think that, by doing that, I think the residents around there may oppose it, and I don't know how you feel, because if there's kids there, I'd like to know how they're going to run the program, let me finish, because I know you're ready to answer, how they're going to run the program, who's going to maintain the property, is it going to be their property, do they want us to give it to them, are they going to purchase it through the RFP, you're bringing this to us without the stuff presented to ask us to give it to them, and those programs, when you bring this to us, they have to come to us with some sort of backup, and there's no backup here. So in my opinion right now, there shouldn't even be a conversation until you come up with a backup to what they're asking for, other than what the other opportunities are out there for everybody else. But whatever the commission, whatever the board decides, I'm okay with if they want to spend the money. But I think it's going to be opened up to a lot of different things. And like I say, if they're asking for something for free where we could sell the property or turn it into something different, I think that I'm just letting you know they may spend $6,000 and they may not get them anywhere.
And I completely understand and agree. And by the way, that's my caveat to you. If their response to an RFP or to a published notice is not something that you like or fits what you see, or if it's insufficient to understand what their intentions are, you can reject anything and everything you receive.
Okay.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Board Member Ramoli?
I had sort of kind of think the same thing. if you're going to go out with an RFP, generally an RFP has detail. Like, this is,
Yes.
we're selling this property for $100,000, and who's interested? Or we want to develop this property. Something has to, needs to be some meat on the bone. And there doesn't seem to be with this, because they're just basically wanting our direction. And it's hard if we're going to give direction to someone, but yet we're going to put it out for everyone to bid on. I don't quite follow how you do that.
Well, the RFP would be broad and general. Basically, it would be an announcement that the CRA is contemplating the disposal of a piece of land. It would describe the land, it would provide its dimensions, the zoning, all that type of information. And it'll be a broad solicitation saying we're looking for people to propose a use for the acquisition of this land.
And do we need to have a value of that land? I know it's, I see the, property appraisers here, but it's,
Typically,
okay. Eve?
I'll let Michael finish. Go ahead.
Okay.
Typically, RFPs are wide open to allow people to propose whether they want to buy the land, lease the land, and for whatever value attached to that. And in fact, we recently disposed of a piece of CRA-owned land at 608 West Virginia Beach Boulevard, where there was a variety of responses. One of them was a response that provided an actual sales price that they gave the CRA check for the land. And then another proposal was simply that we'd give the land to them, both of them, for the use of affordable housing. So that is kind of at the discretion of the respondent as to what they see they can put into their budget versus their use.
So the only thing I wanted to add is this is an unsolicited proposal. So you need to first look at, do you even want to entertain this? Like, you could say, I want more information before we even go out to bid on what you're asking for. Or you can look at it and say, do we want to put this out for affordable housing or for some other purpose, or do we want to keep it? I mean, that's your choice to make.
Yes.
If you decide that you want to entertain this or any other offers, then you do the RFP that Michael is talking about.
Thank you for the clarification, Eve. Board Member Ramoli?
Just a follow-up. So does this kind of fall in line with our vision on that property and what we think should go there?
Since I've been here, all the land that the CRA has sold has been specifically used for low-income housing of some sort or affordable housing of some sort. This particular unsolicited proposal would be a little bit different. It is not proposing that it would be used for affordable housing. It is proposing a children's center, which is kind of, it's not, certainly not affordable housing, but a center that assists with the education and development of children in our neighborhood is how you get out of the need of affordable housing in the future. So again, it depends on how you look at it, and it's totally up to you if you're willing to consider entertaining that use or not.
Thank you, Director Chin. Next, we have Board Member Llewellyn.
Just very briefly, I know that in the past, there was another unsolicited proposal that came in on that property. It wasn't actually a proposal, but there was a discussion about it from somebody who wanted to have a commercial business there as well.
Yes.
Because I remember they approached me about it. But regardless, I still think that we need to have a little more meat on this before we can go any further with it. And I understand that we need to put something out there to get people interested. I'm just a little concerned that we, as Board Member Ramoli said, that we just don't have, it doesn't seem like there is much to put anything out there. That's all.
So the direction of the board, it seems to be to get some more information or have us discuss what we would want to see on that property a little bit more in order to give the director a little bit more direction. So hold on a second. Vice Chair wants to weigh in.
I don't want to beat it down. I mean, we'll do whatever you think is, that we think is best, but, you have an empty lot there, and if you put it up, if you own that lot yourself, Mike, and you wanted to sell it, you put a for sale sign under listed, and at that point, a person would come up and try to buy that property, and before he bought that property, he would go to the city to find out what it's zoned for. And once they found out what it's zoned for, they would decide, well, you know, I want to put a children's center here, or I want to build a duplex here, I want to build a two-story townhouse. You know, they would look into it and see what they could do. At that point, that person that would be interested in buying that property would evaluate what it's worth. Then if it is zoned for putting a care center in there, you know, then it's zoned for that, and there's not much we can say against it, or the neighbors can say against it if it's already zoned for it. The thing is that I just feel that if you want to sell the lot, you should put it up for sale. Somebody should make an offer on it. And if they want to make an offer on it without spending $6,000, they make the offer on it, and they buy the lot if it's the highest offer, and then they go put their children's center in. I don't know why we're going backwards on it. That's where I'm confused at.
Well, in fact, I think, again, I do understand your anxiousness about the lack of specifics on this, but basically what you just said is exactly what we're proposing. We're basically asking you if we can set this up with a basic for sale sign on this to solicit people to come and make us an offer.
Well, you
That's
said
what
you
the
said you
published
wanted
notice does for
unsolicited.
us.
They were bringing you an unsolicited thing, and they want to know if they should spend $6,000. They can spend whatever they want. The point of it is I don't understand why we have to give an approval for them to find out whether or not they want to find out whether it works for them or not. They buy the land, and if it fits, if they get the price and the right, they can do it.
Well, again, the proposal, the published notice is simply for us to publicly provide notice that we're interested in receiving proposals for this parcel of land. Doesn't make any difference what your proposal is.
It doesn't make sense.
All right.
Michael,
don't-
think, if
go
I
ahead.
may, I think the easiest way is,
Yeah.
if they are giving you truly an unsolicited proposal, we need more information before we go to the next step. That's what you're hearing.
Okay. I would suggest, again, I don't mean to be argumentative with you, but if you actually discuss the use of this property as a children's center with any kind of specifics to it, then it seems like you sort of taint the RFP process because you're showing a predisposition of what your use is.
Not necessarily. That's their problem.
Okay.
The CRA board is not they didn't come up with an idea to sell the land.
Yeah.
This is an unsolicited proposal by someone coming to them saying, we want this land, so they need to give you more information so they can make an educated decision, and then you can go out and do the proper notice and advertising.
I'm
Somebody else may
perfectly,
come in and say, no, I don't want to do, I want to offer to do affordable housing there.
actually, that is something that I wouldn't be surprised to see on a response to an RFP.
I don't want to keep going down a rabbit hole with this particular conversation. Obviously, we're not ready to move forward at this point. I don't feel. I will give Board Member Ryan final comments, and then we can just move forward from this last comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just to clarify, I guess, from the discussion that we've been having, this doesn't, it's not necessarily that the board wants to sell this property. It's this organization is reaching out to us to partner with us, and they think that this is a use that would be conducive to what the CRA is trying to do, especially in that area. It's close to the patch. You know, Love Our Nation has been partners with the city before, so I appreciate their offer. Obviously, we want more information, we want to know, but I wouldn't say this conversation is about selling the property, you know, outright. It's more about what do we think as a board would be the most conducive use for that? Do we want to partner with someone, possibly, and still own the property? Maybe. Or would, you know, selling it to someone be a better situation for us in the long run, just to sell them the raw land? But, you know, they have to, at that point, they could do whatever they want because they're the owner of the property. So this still has the land in the CRA's control. So, yeah, to move forward, Chair, I would just say, let's have Love Our Nation bring us some more information. We'd be happy to discuss it with them individually also, and maybe we can move a little further. But I don't think right now it's necessary to put out an RFP. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Ryan. And so with that, we will move on to the next item, and we will get some more information from Director Chen and perhaps talk to Love Our Nation individually. We'll get some more information to how to move forward in the direction that we would like to see the property go. So moving on, then we have we have item 7.3, approval of the 2025 CRA Board meeting dates. Do I have a motion to approve the item? Board Member Llewellyn.
I just want to make sure that the dates are consistent with the commission dates that we have. Yes, then I will move to approve 7.3.
Thank you, Board Member Llewellyn. Do I have a second? I have a second.
Second.
Second from Board Member Ryan. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. All right, item 7.3 passes. Now we are on to board member comments, and we will begin with Board Member Llewellyn.
I'm just going to say this has been a very interesting and informative discussion tonight. So I appreciate that. Everybody's different backgrounds and different experiences, I think, have been very helpful to all of us tonight. With that, I'm going to defer any other comments till the commission meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Llewellyn. We will now move on to Board Member Romoli.
Thank you. I have no comments.
Thank you, Board Member Romoli. Now we will move on to Board Member Ryan.
Thank you, Chair. Okay, I do have some comments I want to bring up. We met as a commission, I think, a couple months ago, and we discussed a parcel of land that was across the street from Frost Park. You know what I'm talking about. Board Member Romali, you're familiar as well? Okay, great. So with that, we determined that that property is in CRA jurisdiction. So we got approval to get 2 appraisals on that property. So we got 2 appraisals and a survey on that property. It's between, you know, a quarter of an acre to a half acre of land. It's currently listed for sale. The asking price for it has changed. It's a vacant land. It's right across from Frost Park. So I think it could be a potential property for the CRA to utilize, you know, and for the city and the park to utilize, especially in the future. It's a valuable piece of land. We're expanding our green thumb in a way, and we're expanding the park. So we had 2 appraisals. We had one that came in for $372,800, and we had another one that came in for $388,800. So what I'm asking for is approval from the board to go into negotiations of potentially purchasing that property without exceeding the highest appraised value of $388,800. And, you know, we could obviously entertain further discussion, but I just want to bring it up because there is time, you know, time's pressing, and it's better to get things done sooner than later, and we got a little more time before the commission meeting, so I think it would be, you know, it's an opportune time, and we were waiting for the appraisals to come in, so now they finally came in, and I wouldn't mind discussing it. Maybe taking action.
Thank you for your in-depth comments here. We have Vice Chair Salvino.
Thank you, Chair. The situation with that, again, almost, and I don't mean to be disrespectful on this, is you're asking us to go into negotiations, but we don't have a layout of what you want to put on it. That's a complete item of what you want to put on that property other than purchase it because it's next to the park. I'm not opposed to something that would go on there that would be beneficial to the city as far as, you know, something we can use, but I'd like to know what you want to buy it for. And I think if you had it, I think if you came up with a plan or a layout, even if it's a drawing, a simple drawing, doesn't have to be professionally done, and give us an idea of what your idea is, I think the commission or the CRA might have a little bit more of a opposed or unopposed feeling about what we should do at that point, because right now, just to purchase a piece of land for $380,000 doesn't do me any good. I want to know what we're going to do with it and what's going to benefit the city for it. That's just my comment on that.
Thank you, Vice Chair. And it almost, to me, it mirrors a little bit what we just went through. Maybe we did deserve a workshop at over all the vacant land, and we can discuss it in a workshop where we can really thoroughly get into the details. But I will let Board Member Ryan respond. And
Yeah, I understand we want a plan and a future plan for everything, but sometimes, when the opportunity arises for a piece of property that's available that happens to be adjacent to your public park, and, we have plans for our public park also. We have a master plan for Frost Park, and we're going to be pouring millions of dollars into that park. So it would go hand in hand when we develop the park. I'm not the master planner here. There's people who have great ideas, better ideas than our board that they could present to us. But owning that piece of property, we budget for this as a CRA. We budget $500,000 a year to purchase land as a CRA. That's a goal that we have, and we haven't purchased anything, So I think this is it's a valuable piece of property in Northeast Dania, and the fact that it's located right across from our park. And when you got the survey on the property also, it's next to city-owned land as well. So, I don't feel like, why would we have to waste so much time on plans and sketches and a drawing and money when we know that the park itself and its location, the piece of property itself and its location would obviously be good for, a community center or for offices, for the parks. But, there's endless amount of uses we could have there. But like I said, it's the opportunity. When it comes to real estate, it's not always available. And this is it's the only, probably one of few vacant pieces of property that's across from a city park. So, as they say, everything is unique, especially when it comes to real estate. We're not comparing apples to apples when we're talking about that old other piece of property that we can't figure out what to do with. I guarantee you we could figure out what to do with this property. And, we're budgeted for it as well. So, it's the move that we're expected to make that we budgeted for, and I can't remember the last time the CRA has actually purchased any property. So I just wanted to bring it up there, definitely before the new year as well. Thank you.
thank you, Board Member. It does seem like an opportunity. We have further discussion from Board Member Llewellyn.
Thank you. And I appreciate that, and I appreciate wanting to purchase land. We do have money budgeted for that. I feel like this is an item, though, that as opposed to being in board member comments should actually be under a discussion of possible action items so that we have an opportunity to ask some questions and treat it with the respect that I think it needs. Potentially have people speak on it, potentially have further investigation done before we go forward with it. I do agree with Vice Chair Salvino that I'd like to see a little bit more to know what the plan is. I mean, and the other factor is although it is in the CRA, originally all those properties that ended up in the CRA were city properties, and they were transferred to the CRA at a particular time. I don't know that even though it is located technically in the CRA, if it should be under the CRA or if it should be something that goes to the city overall. And that might be something that we need to flesh out a little bit more as well. And that's, so I have a lot of questions, and I feel like we need to flesh it out more. And I like the idea of actually even having like a brief workshop, talk about all the properties that we have, because we haven't done that in a long time. And we do own, there's a number of properties out there, and it might benefit us to have like I said, a brief workshop, not something that's gonna take half a day, but maybe something that takes an hour where we can sit down and discuss this, city and CRA combined maybe, and figure out things that we want to do with the various properties that are out there that are owned by the city and or the CRA. I don't think it would hurt, and I don't think it would be that time consuming and delay things that far at this point. How long has the property been up for sale, do we know?
No.
Okay, and what are they asking?
3-4 months.
What are they asking for it?
Last time I saw a list, they were asking on just under 4.
Okay.
But when we initially had it listed, I think at like 469.
469?
And now it's 388.
Now it's, well, the appraisal's 388.
Just the appraisal, yeah.
So-
So just because we're making an offer doesn't mean they're going to say yes.
Sure. I'd like to have a bigger discussion about this. That's just my thoughts on it. So, but anybody else is free to.
And we have due diligence too, you can, as you know.
I want to keep things as transparent as possible. I'm probably gonna become the transparency queen for the next 6 months or so. So I feel like I want to make sure that everything is out there and we all know what's going on and the public knows what's going on with anything that we're looking to spend money on, so.
Yeah, well, we had a public meeting about it and we discussed it and then we gave permission for action for the appraisals on it. So that was my update for you guys.
All right, I think let's move on from, because this belongs, and this is a comments section as opposed to an agenda item, and I do believe that something of this magnitude belongs on an agenda item where we can go thoroughly through it. I'm not opposed to the idea. I think there is a great opportunity and possibility there, but I don't think that during the board member comments is the right time to get into the nitty-gritty of this. So do you have any further comments, Board Member Ryan?
Nope, that's it. Thank you.
All right, so we're going to move on then to Vice Chair Salvino.
I'd like to talk about that item. Normally just no comments, please.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I will have a couple of comments here because I do appreciate Director Chen giving a thorough administrative report. I appreciate my colleagues' comments and concerns about Spirit Airlines. There was a lot of, it was everywhere, it was all over the news, and so we do need to keep a close eye on what happens with Spirit Airlines. They are in our backyard, and so I think it's important that we keep a close eye on what happens going forward in the future. I am very excited, though, to see certain movement with the patch. There was something that we were considering closing at one point in time, and now it seems to be thriving. The CRA is more than the patch, but I'm so glad that I was able to go to and visit and see how the raised beds and the hydroponics are working very well. I had an opportunity to visit with Grow City organization and see the teens and the middle school students mentoring the Love Our Nation kids. So I do think that that community garden is doing well and is doing what the community garden is supposed to be doing there. We have a lot to go. We have a lot of opportunities that are coming before this board. I think it's best that we have communication and a little bit more vision with some of the things that we want to see move forward, but I absolutely think that we can get there. So with that, I am going to call this meeting to an end. Thank you so much, everybody, and we'll see you back. Meeting adjourned.